Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell and on this channel we make art and it's fun, not scary. And today we're going to try some mixed media florals. We did something similar last week or the week before and it seemed like you really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. We did these kind of no-fail watercolor floral bouquets, doodle bouquets I think I was calling them. And today we're going to do some simple flowers in vases, and we're just gonna focus on the shapes of the vase, the shapes of the flowers in the vase, maybe put a little shadow, and then put a tablecloth basically and a background. So we're thinking about color, pattern, and shape. And we're thinking about the mediums like gouache, watercolors, pencil crayons, colored pencils, as you say, and markers and pens. We're just thinking about mixing and playing. You're gonna see me do some stuff that I don't like. I'm gonna make some mistakes because I haven't planned this. I haven't prepped this. I guess I want it to be a little bit raw. It's one of those fun things that creates a great opportunity for you to just play and experiment. And when you do that, you figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And both of those are really, really valuable things when you're just filling sketchbooks and playing around. And if you can get yourself to a place with your art where you can be a little bit vulnerable and nobody else is around except me, and you can just give yourself that license to experiment, it's a great opportunity for you to grow as an artist. So let's grow together and let's grab just whatever supplies you have. If you don't have gouache, no worries. If you don't have colored pencils, doesn't matter. Grab what you've got and we're just gonna play. And we're gonna make pretty stuff because that's what we always do too. Okay, let's get started. On one. Okay, so here is my desk setup. Let's jump right in. I have kind of grabbed a whole bunch of stuff and I have some watercolor paints. This is just a fun little travel set. And sometimes I like to use like a larger palette when using a small travel set, so that's there. I've got 2 glasses of clean water, one for cool or dark colors, one for lighter or warmer colors. I've got some paper towel for blotting my brush. Do I have my brush? Yes, I do. So I've got a bunch of paintbrushes here, but you really only need, one. And then I do have a bunch of Copic markers. I have some Tombow brush pens. I have some colored pencils, and if you have colored pencils, grab a pencil sharpener. All of these are supplies that I'm going to have fun layering on top of my watercolors. Well, I put watercolors in the list, but we're going to start with paint and some gouache as well, which is very similar to watercolor. You can use it in place of watercolor because it's a highly opaque water-based medium. So when you're using gouache, if you water it down far enough, it'll be just like watercolor. So we're gonna use some gouache, some watercolor, and we're gonna have fun layering with all these other mediums. And that's what my desk looks like. Now, the first thing, if you want to, you can do a little sketch, but you totally don't have to. Let me start with a beautiful yellow. What I really want to do today is just show you how fun it can be to just sit down with your supplies and just play. So I'm mixing up kind of like some raw sienna and a little bit of yellow to give me a nice golden hue. Put a little brown in there so it's not so bright. Lots of water. Keep things light because we're going to be layering. We're going to add lots of color later on. And then I didn't even mention I'm working on hot pressed paper. I've taped it down mostly just so that it's not going every which way when you're trying to watch me. And let's get really free with this. We're just going to paint some circles here. I mean, these are all going to be flowers. And we can make flowers out of pretty much any shape. Maybe we'll test that out today. Like if we were to paint some random triangles, can we make them look like flowers? Let's test it. Let's try it. I'm going to mix a little more yellow in there just so that not all the flowers look the exact same. I'm going to do some more lumpy little shapes here that I'm just painting in. I don't want I want some to be a bit smaller, but I don't want them to be like totally different sizes. You know what I mean? And maybe we release a little color at the center or just off center at some of the, just keep it interesting basically is what I'm saying. And then I want to add a little vase. So let's do it. Let's do that. Why don't we just go with like a dark, beautiful blue? Keep it dark and the blue will contrast really beautifully with the yellow. If you are doing this at home, if you are following along, way too much paint in my brush. Remember, if you have too much paint in your brush, you will not be in control of it. So remember to blot your brush. What was I going to say? If you're following along at home, try your best to just make split decisions. A lot of times when I am going to film a video, I will try the painting first, or at least do some prep where I'm doing a sketch, I'm checking my color palette, all of these little decisions that can add up to a much better piece, a bit of planning. And we've talked about that on the channel a lot, how far planning can take you, just figuring out what sort of colors are going to look good in this piece, asking yourself some questions before you start. Well, today we're just forgetting all of that and we just want to jump right in and just try to make quick decisions like, oh, I started with yellow because yellow's bright and happy, and then I'm going to go with blue because it's, it complements yellow really beautifully and it's going to look bright and it's going to look happy. And then I'm just going to grab some green and we're just going to make some leafy shapes. And we're just going to put them in here and we're not going to overthink it. And we're going to have this pretty, funky, kind of messy looking, let's be honest, messy looking bouquet, but it's going to work and it's all going to come together in the end. So I'm just putting some like little streaks of green. I'm not doing a whole lot, and then some leaves look pretty cute there. That's good, good enough. Let's rinse that brush. And what I want to add to all of these is some background, some backdrops. So now that we have our watercolor flowers and our little cute vase, we have to figure out what color is the background. And for this one, why don't we just do like a nice light blue for the table? I've got some kind of bluey stuff on the palette up here. I might throw a little white into that and just give myself like a nice light blue. And then I will just draw a line. That it could be anywhere, it could be up higher like that, wherever you want the table to be. That is up to you. That's your decision to make as the artist. And we're just going to do like a very messy wash of blue. Maybe we'll add a shadow in there. That always looks good when you can add a bit of shadow. It immediately makes everything appear a little more realistic. And so once that dries a bit, we can add a bit of shadow. And I think I will add a background color, but I'll do it with gouache. So we can come back in with gouache a little later. So let's set this guy aside. And we are just going to continue on like this. I've got all these little ripped pieces of paper. This is great for when you have like large paper and you don't want to work large. You can rip it down for small projects like this, or if you mess up a piece, but there's still like some good paper left on there, that's another time. Just take your ruler, rip as straight as you can, and save as much paper as you can. Let's do another one. Remember, if you want to, you can draw this first. Just do a quickie pencil sketch if you feel like that would be helpful. I've got some sort of light magenta on the palette here, and I'm just mixing in that peachy color. I should really rinse that white out because I put a whole bunch of blue in my white. There, put a little white, maybe a little yellow to make it even more peachy. And for this one, why don't we do some kind of messy flowers that we'll make into roses. Grab that darker pink. So each flower is like a slightly different color. Remember, don't overthink it. Just try to just go for it. I mean, that's, I'm telling myself that as much as you. It's hard for me to not plan a lot. Maybe 3 is enough. 3 is always a good idea. Let's grab some green. And I do like a nice earthy green. It's never a bad idea to just hit your green with like a little bit of magenta or a little bit of red. Gives it a nice earthy vibe, kind of cancels out some of that brilliance because red and green are opposites on the color wheel. So they cancel each other out. So if you just put a little hint of green, you're going to get like a muddier. I mean, if you put a little bit of red, you're going to get a muddier green. There we go. That's even getting too detailed. So I'm going to make those stems into leaves. We're trying to go for not too detailed here. Let's add a little cute leaf design up here. These are like, we're calling these little sketches. We just want everything really sketchy and fun and almost like a little bit childlike. And we're just gonna see what we can come up with. There we go. This one's got a lot of leaves, and that's okay. Some of the leaves I'm leaving like a little line of white, and I think that looks kind of cute. Maybe that one's a bit thick. There we go. And we want to do the same thing here, where we're just going to add a little vase. Make it kind of like a funny shape. And then I'm just using the water that's in my brush to sort of fill in, leaving a little bit of a highlight there. I'll be honest, this one's not my favorite. What I see when I'm looking at this is just me trying to do too much, like making things too detailed when the name of the game was to keep it simple. So that's fine. I'm not going to beat myself up, but when I start the next one, I'm just going to go for even more simple. And for this one, why don't we do like a fun table that is like a checkered or at least a grid. And I do a bunch of horizontal lines, and then these lines are on little angles, and that will help give our painting some depth. And they don't have to be perfect. You can make them a little silly. There we go. And then again, we'll put the background in there with a little bit of gouache. Let's set it aside and let it dry and do another one together. This is kind of fun. As I said, that one is not my favorite. I'm just doing too much. I need to do less, do less. Okay. Let's tape this guy down. Okay, let's think a little bit about color. I think a little bit of orange might be nice. So let's take a hint of red, mix it with our yellow, maybe some of this light red, a little white, a little more yellow, I don't know. And then what can we do? How about some cute little, like, almost like, is it a lily? Like 1, 2, like that. Those are our flowers. Oh, that's kind of cute. Let's do another one. There we go. And we'll put one up here that's on a bit of an angle. So you just see like 3 instead of the 5 or 6 that I painted here. Let's do one that's leaning over the vase, maybe more than one. No, I'm doing too much. I'm doing too much, as usual. So let's leave that and not do too much. And let's put in the vase. I think a red vase would look really pretty with that orange. So let's grab a little bit of like red, pink, maybe like a dark pink. There we go. When you're painting your vase, they don't have to be perfect. Like I'm just having a bit of fun making a very silly vase shape. There. And remember, we're adding in more detail later. So you really don't need to go overboard right now, or you're just gonna end up with too much. Again, telling that to myself. Telling that to myself. Maybe that one I'm gonna leave at that because we can do as much as we want to with the gouache. Actually, I'll just paint the table. I don't know. I'll just paint in a table. I like that this one is all warm colors. That is pretty. And it's fun. There. Leaving a bit of like a highlight, and then the shadow can be over there. So you can see just by doing some messy brush strokes, you can do a lot. And you can make it look really cool. And these might look a little weird right now, but they're gonna look really good. Let's do one more, and then if we can do 4 together in the space of a video, that's pretty good. I have been filming a lot more and doing this kind of more live, unedited content. And I'm always like, yeah, it's gonna take me like 15 minutes, quick, very quick. And then we review the footage and it's like 1 hour. But you kind of lose yourself a little when you sit down to paint. That's what's so fun about it, is that you sometimes don't realize that you were sitting there for a full hour. Okay, I'm going to use that kind of pretty pink. And this one, I'm going to do these kind of heart-shaped flowers. And we will have them drooping down in front of the vase. There. It's so weird and messy and wonderful. Do I need one more? It's never a bad idea to work in odd numbers. I just don't know where I can fit one. Maybe a little guy up top. I don't know. That could work. I don't know. And then why don't we make a sort of like glass vase? So I'm just using a dark blue to just do the outline of the glass. And then I can do some like stems and draw those in a moment. I'll just give it like a bit of a base. And then for this one, let's just repeat colors and use some of the same colors. For this guy, let's use that nice orange that we had and do the orange on the table. That looks pretty. I mean, that's so vibrant. I like that a lot. And I'm gonna put the table up kind of high, trying not to touch the glass because it's not dry yet. Oops, whoops. Oh well. C'est la vie. there is my pretty bright orange marigold table. Kind of messed that up, but I think we can make it work. We'll make it work. So there, we have these 4 paintings. They don't look like much at the moment. They don't look like a whole lot, but we're going to have some fun with this, and we will start, I think, with some gouache. So let's switch back to our very first guy here. And I need to decide what a good background color for this would be. And I'm kind of thinking like maybe, well, I used a lot of pinks in the other ones. So I'm thinking maybe like a light pink would be good, because then as a little, if you look at them as a sort of little collection, I'm just going to use the gouache right on my watercolor palette. P.S. If you look at them as all 4 together, I kind of want them to have some flow and some connection. So this guy needs a little pink. Let's mix lots of water in there, because with gouache, you mix in a lot of water. You never use it right out of the tube. I just did a video like, am I using gouache wrong? Because that's a question I get asked often. And there is no wrong way to use it, except maybe right out of the tube, just because it's so wasteful. You know, art supplies are not cheap. And even if you mix quite a lot of water into your gouache, it will still be wonderfully opaque. So go ahead, add the water, and you'll have this nice, very easy to paint with paint. You can see right now, it just creates such a nice backdrop because it is so opaque, and I don't really have to think about it too much. I can just put it on here. And what I want to do is just carefully go around everything, not too carefully, frankly. Here we go. And we just have to get it up in this tiny little spot up in here. There. I think that looks really cute. I love the way the gouache gives this really vibrant, simple, graphic background. And I love the way the peach and the yellow and the blue are all working together. It's looking good. Let's pick up our next one and we'll add gouache to the others. And then we'll come back around again for a third pass. And at that point, we will add all the marker and the pencil crayon and stuff. So there we go. Let's look at this guy. I'm thinking for this one, I would just love to use, I think I would love to use this teal. No, maybe I'm going to save that for another one. Well, why don't we try to do something similar where I'll mix white gouache here on this palette and I'll add a bit of watercolor to the gouache so that you can see that actually the two mediums mix really nicely as well. So we'll just add lots and lots of water, get our gouache nice and soupy, and then there. This year, I just feel myself getting really excited about trying new mediums and testing out different things. It's funny, when I started the channel in 2015, so 9 years ago, I was kind of a little bit afraid of my art supplies. And so if you sort of feel that, I totally get it. I was in my early 30s. I had really been so in love with art in my childhood and all through high school. And then after high school, I just didn't, have an outlet for that art. I was going to actually go to art school. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and I got accepted at OCAD. And it's kind of funny, like back when I was in high school, which is a long time ago, we still had grade 13 in Ontario. Or we called it OAC, your OAC year. And it was like, if you wanted to go to university or you were like on track to go to university, then you had to do this 5th year, this OAC grade 13 year. And so I did that because I wanted to go to university, and I always thought that I would. I kind of was like just someone who saw themselves going. And I applied to art schools. I had a lot of fun applying. Like, I remember my friends and I all took a road trip out to Ottawa, I think, so that I could apply to that university and show them my portfolio. And we were just like wild animals, like road tripping with no parents. And then I did get in to Ottawa as well. But here's the thing, by the time I completed 5 years of high school, like that 5th year just crushed me. It was so much high school. I was so desperate. So I was 18 in that 5th year, and I was just so desperate to be out on my own, doing my own thing, just even paying my own bills, like being responsible for myself, that by the time I finished, I felt like if I went to university, I would still be I would still be kind of in kid land. I would be dependent on my parents. And so even though I really wanted to go to art school, I was just so tired of school. I had worked so hard to get into university that I was exhausted by the whole process of just always being, when you're like a kid and you're one of those kids that's really concerned about your marks and your essays. And I kind of wore myself out before it actually started to matter. I had friends that kind of were just having fun in high school. And then when it came time and not getting great marks, which is totally fine. And then when it came time to go to university or college, that's when they buckled down. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Now you can get serious when it actually counts. And I just had nothing left to give. I couldn't get serious because I was already just pooped from caring too much and too many piano recitals and essays and oh my gosh, these paints. And so I decided not to go. I'm gonna have to run that one under some hot water. Oh no, don't tell me that you're jammed up. Someone needs to take better care of these paints. Oh, I think this is a universal thing for a lot of people. I always see so many studio tours of all the artists that I follow on Instagram, and they're all like, this is my giant mess. This is all the paint that I wasted from leaving the caps off. It's just why are we like this? Why do we all do this? Anyway, I'm gonna grab some cobalt, and I wonder if I just pick up some of this white with a bit of yellow, and I could get a nice light blue. That's not bad, and we'll just do light blue here. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, I was so tired out and just was I think I might be done. Now I'm just what kind of jerk kid road trips to Ottawa on my parents' dollar to do an interview at the university, and then 2 months later is you know what, I don't want to go. Anyways, when you're 18, you don't think like that. And or I didn't. I'll just claim that one for me. And so my parents were kind of if you're not going to university, what are you doing? And I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure something out. And so I kind of luckily we had the internet. We got the internet at my house when I was 13. So at 18, I had access, and I started kind of hunting around online, where could I go? Who will have me? Who will hire me with no job experience? And I found this foundation that was working out in Hong Kong, and it was a government thingamabob where they wanted to get a native English speaker into every primary and secondary school in Hong Kong. So they hired all these young people, and you didn't have to have a university to do a degree for this. You just had to be a native English speaker and have completed high school. And so I interviewed and I was hired for that job. And it was like the perfect fun thing for a young person because they were going to put me up in an apartment with other like young people. There was 2 guys and 2 girls in every apartment. And then they would give you a subway pass, a metro pass, and a monthly stipend and fly you over there and everything. So in the end, that's what I ended up doing after high school. What was this story about again? Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Now that I say it, I'm like, it sounds just like university, basically. It's basically dorm life. But I think I just felt like I'm making my own money and what have you. And, you know, felt quite independent. And so I never ended up going to art school, never ended up going to university. And, ooh, okay, well, that one wasn't dried out. And of course, if you don't if you don't stick with art, it's very easy to just, you know, leave it behind, not do it. If you don't do it, it's easy to not do it. And I guess that's still wet. I shouldn't put green on there quite yet. Let's take this guy and we're going to add some green gouache to him. And so I found myself, even though I loved making art and I loved being creative, I found myself, you know, 10 years later, just being like, well, how can I get that back in my life? How do I get creativity back as part of my day? And I started a blog and I was just doing anything on this blog. I started with things that felt safe to me at the time, like creative pursuits. Like I was like making candy and canning my own food and doing some furniture refinishing. So I was sort of sharing that stuff. And then I wanted to do a little bit more like actual art, but I think I was a little scared. And Chris was like, you got to do a YouTube video because nobody can find your blog. Like your blog is just existing out there. It's very hard for you to get an audience. You know, sure, your mom is reading your blog, but no one else is going to find it. And so he was like, if you put yourself out there on YouTube, you know, YouTube will suggest you to people and you'll be able to like find a community. And so when I did that first video, art just seemed like kind of like an approachable thing to do because whereas like a furniture refinishing project might be so much larger, I could sit down and show something from beginning to end as far as like an art project. And so that's what I did. I did like a little hand lettering video. If anybody, I would love to know if anybody was here has seen that very first video. I'm wearing like a bright fluorescent pink t-shirt and I'm sitting in my kitchen and I had done a big hand lettering project on the chalkboard behind me. Chris and I built this big chalkboard for our wedding. And then I did a big hand lettered piece of art that said like love and unity and Christopher and Shayda when we got married. And then, you know, we had this giant chalkboard. So it was hanging in our kitchen. I did a big hand lettered or like a little hand lettering project on it. And then I sort of filmed in front of that. And I did all these just cute little hand lettered cards and stuff. And I remember YouTube, like I was so embarrassed to put a video out there because on my blog, people could come and read it. And I could post on Facebook and say like, hey, mom, and everybody go read my blog. But no one could actually see how many readers I had. Only I could see that. And so it just felt very safe. But I knew that if I put something on YouTube, you know, everybody would be able to see like, oh, it has 8 views. But eventually I just was like, you know what? That's not the most important thing. Nobody cares, you know, nobody, or if they do, that's fine. Like, I don't need to worry about what other people think of me and my 8 views. And so I ended up doing this little hand lettering video and kind of getting over the fear. And then YouTube was sending me notifications. Like at first they were like, your video has 100 views. And I was like, okay, well, at least 100's like semi-respectable. Like, okay, that's fine. And then I just thought, good. And now I can just sort of forget about it. Oh, darn it. I should have put orange back in there. And now I got rid of that color. Whoopsie. Oops. Oh, well, let's just see if we can match it. Anyway, so I sort of thought like, okay, that's done. It's not bad. And I don't have anything to be embarrassed about. And I just went about my business. And then YouTube kept sending me like these notifications. Your first video has 1,000 views. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Like, I guess it is working. And then it was like, your video has, remember it said 10,000 views. And I was like, no, like it's not possible. And I went and it was real. And that was kind of the start of the YouTube channel. And I'm just so grateful, I guess, for that, because that has meant that I have this artistic outlet. And now, of course, it's my full-time job. And this whole story started because I was saying that it was so scary to me back then to try new mediums. Like, I really just wanted to show you one thing, you know, and I'll give myself this. I was trying watercolor. I was new to watercolor. So it's not like I was a watercolor expert and that's what I was sharing. I was totally new to watercolor. And I just thought, you know, even if you're brand new to it, you can do like cute stuff. You don't have to be a beginner forever. Like maybe if we just do little cute bubbles, you can make it into something. You can make it look interesting. So that was kind of the idea behind it all. And that's where it started. And that is all like a super long, very, very long way of me saying that I guess now I'm not so precious like with what I show. And I don't mind showing like if I made something a bit weird or I tried something for the first time and it kind of turned out like a bit janky. And this year especially, I just feel like really drawn to trying new things. And I really want to share that with you and share that joy of materials and taking joy in, you know, just having a couple markers and getting a little crazy with them and not being too precious or too worried about, I guess, what other people think or whether you're a, you know, well-versed with the medium. All of that stuff just doesn't matter. And I think what matters is just having fun. And then the joy that it brings to your life. Through the years, art has really saved me from some very dark times. And I've talked about that on the channel as well. I've struggled with addiction. This would be sort of in my mid to late 20s. So like kind of before I started the channel, before I met Chris, but like after Hong Kong, like in my 20s, I just was in this middle gray place where I just didn't know like kind of what to do with myself. I didn't feel like, I just really struggled to find my place in the world. And I think a lot of young people go through that. And we all, I think so many of us struggle still. I guess all I'm saying is you're weird if you don't struggle. Just kidding. What color are you? Brown? That's not gonna work. Let's give this a little shadow. Just brush stroke across there. But when I was sort of trying to get away from a life of addiction and just kind of trying to get out of my party years, I felt that things were just so gray. You know, that's something that is, I don't think talked about a lot, is that when you're getting clean, you like don't start feeling good right away. You kind of feel really bad for a long time. And so art was a way for me to like get outside of myself and just not be sort of in my head all the time. And I still find that, you know, if I'm having a tough week or something, this is where I can go to feel better and to feel like myself. Some of these are just doing too much. This, I did a little too much layering. What else is new? She's doing too much. Like, I don't want this to look overly detailed. I want them to look simple and fun. And that's just like not, my middle name is not simple, okay? My middle name is overdoing it, doing too much. Okay, let's give you, how should we do this? Maybe just something at the center. For me, doing projects like this, it doesn't really matter how it turns out. What matters is that I know that I'll come back to this one day and I'll see some stuff that I liked that worked, and I will see some stuff that didn't work, you know, and both of those are valuable. I'll know what works for me with these mixed mediums and what doesn't. And that is hugely, hugely valuable. So that's kind of looking cute. Maybe this guy needs to be a bit more of like a real leaf over here. Just draw that in. That's kind of cool. I don't know. And what do I have? What about if we just added to the vase a little bit? Could make it look like the water's in there, and then I could actually probably just draw some stems. Just not quite connecting. And if you've done a highlight, make sure you keep that highlight and don't draw anything else on top of it. You know what I think this could use is like some little berries. There we go. That's pretty cool. I don't know. These are turning out fun. Okay, hopefully this guy is dry. Yes, he is. Let's go with you. Oh, okay. I know what we haven't really done. We haven't done a whole lot of pencil crayon, so let's get in there. Oh, I don't love that. Okay, let's scratch that. See, we're learning. We're learning. Let's just do that. And then, you know what? Let's just go right over it. And like, if I just were to go like that, I could actually make it look like there was this great, really natural highlights on this vase. There we go. That's either good or weird. It's really nice or really bad. Just kidding. And then we need a dark green to put stems on these guys. We don't really have to do stems. We just have to do like a little bit of green, like kind of hinting. Or maybe I wonder if I should do that with gouache maybe. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's just add some like purple lines. You get some purple lines and you get some purple lines. There. That needs to be even messier. And on the tablecloth, maybe some, like we can make a pattern just simply by doing these little dots. That's kind of cool, or is it just messy? It's cool. And then, yeah, we'll use gouache. And we'll just take a little bit of green gouache and put it in there like that. And there. All of a sudden, these guys have leaves. And I think that one looks really fun. Kind of messy. What if we just even did a leaf on the table too? These flowers were at my house. There'd be leaves on the table. And then we just have one more that needs like a few little details. This guy. Okay. Let's give you something to be excited about. Some shading. Some detail at the center. That's neat. And then, I don't know, what should we do on the, like, I think that tablecloth could use a little something, something. Maybe it's just stripes. Do not forget to go through the vase this time. I'm just going a little softer when I go through the vase so that it looks like, you know, there is water there. I like that. That's kind of fun. This one I thought was going to be my least favorite, and maybe it's going to be my most favorite. This was a lot of fun. I wonder how you're going to feel about these because they're kind of silly and crazy, but I sort of love them. And this guy maybe just needs... I'm doing too much again. She's doing too much, everybody. Please stop. What I picture myself, the way I picture my art is not always how my art looks. I wonder if you will find that statement relatable. I hope so. The way I picture things in my head, I just picture myself doing things so simple and cool, like very graphic, like just putting the perfect detail. Like if I always find if you can get the detail right, you don't have to do a lot of it. So I just picture myself doing just basically good art, good work. And then what I actually do is like kind of miss the point sometimes. But I'm going to save the day. And the way I save the day is to go in and do a whole lot of extra, extra details, extra stuff. It's not really the best practice. Not best practice, no. But it's what I do. You need a shadow and you're getting one over here. I don't really have a color for this shadow, but I'm thinking like, could red work? Yeah, why not? On a pink tablecloth, a shadow could be red. These are fun, I think. I think these are fun. This guy could use some more detail, I think. Like if we maybe put some little edges. Listen to me, it's like I can't learn. I'm like, he might need some extras. Maybe? Okay, I'm stopping. I'm stopping and I'm gonna sign my work. Oh gosh, I had pens the whole time. I could have done work with pens. I like the way these pens appear on top of the gouache. They can be a little bit more striking sometimes than the Copics. There we go. Ta-da! She's finished. Thanks for hanging out today, guys. I won't say too much more because this took me a while, but it was fun. And we just tried something and we tried mixing medias. And I think I'm gonna do some more. And you know, maybe they'll turn out a little bit more like how I think they're going to turn out, and maybe they won't. And either way, that's okay. Hit that subscribe button, please. That's all you gotta do. Hit the subscribe button, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial.